Good evening, everyone. We'll call to order the regular monthly meeting of the City of Helotes Planning and Zoning Commission. It is September the 3rd, 2019 at 7 p.m. Welcome all to our meeting, and I'll ask the Commission Secretary to call the roll, please.
Mike McLaughlin.
Here.
Joe Edmond.
Yeah.
Ron Haza. Greg Michelle.
Here.
Jason Whitman.
Here.
Richard Hawk. Jeff Wade.
Here.
Mario Rios.
Here.
We have Cindy Perez from staff. We have Alex Blue from council with us as well. We start tonight with a public hearing. The public hearing is to give all interested persons the right to appear and be heard on a request by Kidder Entertainment Group for a specific city council approved use permit for a tavern with outdoor area for patrons, no live or recorded music allowed outside on property zoned B3 overlay district located on 5.474 acre lot described as Lot 7, Block 2 within the Bandera Oaks subdivision, generally located behind 12510 Bandera Road. We will open the public hearing at 7:01, and I will call up the individuals who have indicated a desire to be heard. I just ask, if you're unaware of the process, that you please identify yourself and your address, and that you direct your comments to the commission, and that you have 3 minutes to speak. It's an opportunity for us to hear from you and hear about your concerns, questions, ideas, comments, and it's not a dialogue moment, but we are appreciative of you being here, and so we will get started, and apologies if I mispronounce anybody's name. I'm going to start with, it is Irene Carestas. Close? Yeah, come on up.
Okay, thank you. Irene Carestas, 9430 Gray Sage. And we've been in Helotes for about 20 years, and the development, a lot of it's fine, but I just don't think that we need a bar with music. We've got families within 200 to 300 feet of where this is going to be. You know, kids got to go to sleep. They're going to hear the noise. I mean, and I know it's going to be enclosed, but the reality is I know people live in Stanton Run so they can hear Cooter Browns, and it's, really, really annoying. A big concern of mine, that's one of my concerns. Another really, really big concern of mine that really prompted me to come tonight is if, you guys live in Helotes, I assume you live in Helotes, and you go up and down, you see all the kids hang out to Sonic, see more and more kids walking along Bandera Road, and really, really concerns me is, somebody's going to, that close, leaving a bar, people have a little bit too much to drink, not really pay attention. I'm just terrified. It's just a tragedy waiting to happen. Just that close, I just feel like the environment is not a good mix, Once you get, I'm just seeing more and more kids. I love the sidewalk here, but you still see them. You see some go on the sidewalk on this side of the road. You still see some on the road. I see a lot. I'll be honest, one night, one just ran right in front of me, wasn't even paying attention. It was a night wearing dark clothes, ran right in front of me. And yes, it was stupid and irresponsible of him, but we were all stupid and irresponsible as teenagers. And I just think as adults that we need to really, really think about that, because there's so many kids, this whole mix there. It's a great community. The kids, we need to do whatever we need to do to protect them and keep them safe. And like I said, we were all stupid kids, and I hate the way that they run up and down the street, but I see them. I'm in and out of Cedar Springs, that front gate. I love the light, so I'm in and out, and I see these kids, see them walking, going back and forth, and even on the other side. And like I said, and sometimes they're really, really stupid, crossing when they do and not paying attention. And with the bar there, it's just not a good mix. And somebody had said, and I don't know this, and that somebody else's concern was at another bar where there were a few kids around here that got busted for underage drinking, that they weren't really being. I hope the bar would be responsible for that. I don't know, but you wouldn't even want to give that temptation for such a good, positive, strong community here in Helotes. So I say, let's just take care of our kids. Let's not even allow it. We don't want that alcohol mix with the kids that are just in and out. And like I said, that Sonic, that was really, really prompted me to come. I see them all the time, going up and down. So thank you for your time, and please consider it. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Bob Carestas.
Okay, I'm Bob Carestas, 9430 Gray Sage, and I know there's no dialogue, and I guess I'll just answer the question. I think most of you probably own a home somewhere around here. And I want you to really consider, would you want a tavern in your backyard? I mean, just think about it. Would you want a tavern right up to your back fence in your backyard? I'm opposed to it. I hope you would be opposed to it. I hope you'll consider that when you make your recommendation. Thank you.
Appreciate it, thank you. William Lyon.
Yes, sir. William Lyon, 9414 Gray Sage. First, I want to thank the commission for letting me come and speak. I want to say I'm not opposed to bars. I'm not opposed to drinking. I enjoy drinking. I enjoy having a beer once in a while. It's not what I'm here. I personally think that bars are fine. The problem is the location. My house is directly behind this location. My kids' windows look out from the second floor across this property. My kids go to bed at 8 o'clock on a weeknight. Cooters, the other location that this organization owns, is open till 2 a.m. weeknights, every single night. Now, I know most of you have probably had a beer once or twice in your life, and I can tell you this, most people who have been drinking don't have any volume control. And that's what I'm most concerned about. I'm most concerned about those people leaving the bar, making a whole bunch of noise directly underneath my kid's window. Is that something that you want if you're your backyard? My kids go to Coons Elementary. They have to be on the bus at 7 a.m. on weeknights. They have to be up at 6:10 in the morning. It's just something to consider. So, I mean, I don't want you to just understand how much I think other people in the community, when we posted this to the community Facebook page, they took and said, my biggest concern is if there's going to be a bike path or a walking distance from our subdivision. So people are already considering not just stumbling out of the bar, but random times from our community. Getting so drunk that they can't even drive. That's going to be happening directly underneath my kids' windows, 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. It's something that I would hope that you would consider and understand why I'm opposed to this. Look, I'm not saying that this property shouldn't be developed. I understand that eventually it probably will be developed. I'm fine with it eventually being developed and understand that progress happens and that things eventually come through. And all I'm saying is that we don't need a bar directly next to a residential area with small children. I'm not the only one on that street overlooking the location with small children. People next to me, they have a 3-year-old and another one on the way. There's lots of small children, it's families. We're directly next to that property. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, was there anyone else who cared to speak tonight to that item? And if not, we will close the public hearing at 7:09. I'd also note for the record that Susan Darst is here from staff. Hi, Susan. And we do not have any other citizens to be heard, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so I would now call upon the city council liaison for his report. Alex Blue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you know, 2 items that were previously on Planning and Zoning Commission agenda items went to City Council. I just report on those 2. The first was for the Municipal Code of Ordinances, Chapter 18, Buildings, Building Regulations, and Chapter Zoning. That, you may recall, was essentially the building codes, the certificate of occupancy, and that discussion. City Council approved it, made note of the Planning and Zoning recommendation of 1 year, but stuck with the 9-month requirement, given the fact that there were multiple opportunities to extend that as needed. And so it was approved as originally presented. The second item was the request for conceptual design plan for Helotes Retail Center that's located in between the church and the Juppie Mills feed store. And exactly as Planning and Zoning city council approve that as presented.
Great.
Any
Thank you.
questions?
Any questions for Alex?
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 6 tonight is the minutes from the August the 6th meeting. Had a chance to review them, I hope. If there is a motion, or excuse me, if there's a correction or an edit that needs to be made to revise, please call that to our attention, or we can have a motion. Michael,
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the minutes as presented.
is there a second?
Second.
Jason? So the motion is to approve as submitted the minutes of the August 6, 2019 meeting. All in favor of approving, please signal aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. And they're up here somewhere. Okay, we move to item 7 tonight, which is discussion and action on a request by Kidder Entertainment Group for a specific city council approved use permit for a tavern with outdoor area for patrons, no live or recorded music allowed outside on property zoned overlay district B3 and located on 5.474 acre lot described as lot 7, block 2, within the Bandera Oaks subdivision generally located behind 12510 Bandera Road. You all have found the information in your packet about this. Susan, was there anything from staff on this item other than what we have?
No.
Okay. And is there anyone representing the applicant here tonight?
Mr. Kidder is here, Mr. Chairman.
Great. So give you a moment if you'd like to present us, speak to us, and then if we have questions.
Oh, okay. I will share this with the chairman. Pass this along. This is just the site plan. So this black box is, I'm assuming, where he's proposing to place the building. Yes, you guys can just scan that.
What is it?
It's just the site plan.
A preliminary site plan that he wanted to share with the commission.
Okay, so we'll send that around. In the meantime, Mr. Kidder, maybe you ought to come up. I'm sure there'll be some questions. If you, for the record, just put your name and business address on the record for us.
Jim Kidder, 12237 Windridge in Helotes, Texas.
Great, thank you much. As this comes around, maybe you could speak to it. This is showing where you're planning to place the
Well,
facility.
what it is a site plan that was given to me by the developer, and I pretty much laid out exactly where the building would go.
Okay,
So it's approximately 350 feet from the residence.
okay. And what is the square footage, remind us?
Well, the square footage that's laid out right now in Phase 1 is about 17,000 square foot. That's the Navy Credit Union, Bandera Cafe,
Pail shop,
and, Pet Barn, all that. Ours would probably be about 12,000 square foot, directly behind it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mario, we have this one.
could I ask a question?
Go ahead.
You said phase one meaning there's gonna be more?
Well, Phase 1, I believe the developer bought or had all of that acreage available. So Phase 2 is this 5.5 acres that he has for sale right now.
But that's,
Phase 1 was the Pet Barn, the Bandera Cafe, that strip center that's there now.
But the proposed bar is, that's the.
That's right behind, directly
Right,
behind
And
it.
that's the square footage total, it's not gonna
No,
grow
the-
any more than that, or?
No, it'll be, the actual bar itself will be about 8,000 square foot.
He brought that in person. I can make copies if you want.
All right, okay. You're the owner of?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
and to be clear, that 8,000 square foot facility is the only portion of this property that we're talking about here,
Right.
correct?
Do you
Ron.
plan to have music inside?
The music is, we've been at this location here since 2011, so all the music we have is inside, unless it's a special use where we'll have a band outside, and I think the last time we did that was about 4 years ago.
Ron,
Do you have?
But we understand.
hold on a second, go ahead, Ron.
How much parking area do you expect to have from your proposed building site back?
Well, other than the 12,000 square foot, the remaining will be nothing but parking.
Okay, so the parking will go all the way to the back?
Right.
About how many spaces do you propose?
Well, there's probably about 250 to 300 parking spaces for every 2 acres.
Okay.
Do you have live music?
We have live music in the bar only. There's no music outside at all. We have a very strong clientele. I would say the median age of our clientele is around 30 plus. We don't have young kids that come in there.
You plan to do anything between your property and the property next, behind you, the private homes?
Pardon me?
Like a berm? Do you plan to do anything like a berm or something?
No.
To mediate the sound of the, okay.
Well, the sound, I believe there's quite a few trees on the boundary line that we'll leave all intact and try to put as much of it up front that we can.
Okay.
We've been in operation, like I said, since 2011 with Staten Run being directly behind us too. So I think we've done a pretty good job of operation since then.
In the current location, the proposed location, the building is, you said, around 8,000 square feet?
The one we have right now,
I'm sorry, for the proposed.
proposed
Right.
8,000 square
And what's the
foot.
current, for comparison?
Right now, we're about 5,400 square foot.
And I understand as a bar, liquor license and tuned to all the laws associated with that, is the facility, are under 21s allowed into the bar at all? Is there, what's the,
No, you have to be 21 to enter. Now,
just
we-
enter?
We had a special promotion on Thursdays there for a while where, you know, we would allow, it's college night, anybody under 21 would pay a certain fee, but I'd probably say we had maybe a handful of those come through our door, so we've never had an issue with underage drinkers or never had an issue with that.
But right now, if I was 19 and wanted to go into your bar, could I do
Couldn't
it?
come in, no.
Other comments, questions?
Mr. Chair,
Let me go with Mario first.
2 questions. First question is, does the structure account for sound like, forgive me for my naive, but for like broadcasting studios, radio, television, they have soundproof booths for when they're recording audio or cutting audio with bands or whatever they're doing. Does a bar do that, or is it
Well,
just
we
a
have-
normal structure where sound can just go out through the walls like any normal?
There's fire codes where we have to have a firewall, so it's pretty well soundproof inside.
It's different than a bank's walls or an office? Is it the same?
I
or-
couldn't, I would say it'd be different because they're not, we have to have a double firewall between us and our neighbor, who is the hairdresser, the haircutting salon. Because of fire, there was a big fire up in Ohio a couple of years ago, and a bunch of people got killed. So, you know, we're more. They're more in depth to have fire safety causes more than anything else. The sound has never really been an issue with us. I understand if you have bands playing outside, you know, and we're not going to do that. We're not going to keep people up real late at night.
I'm lived in Helotes for 10 years now, and I admire your location at the corner of 1604 and Bandera. I've always, when I see KJ 97 or Y100 banners flying, I always think, and I see that barbecue pit with the smoke coming out, I go, wow, you guys are doing it right, making our city look nice from that
Yeah.
area of town. I would think that you would still have that type of environment at this one. You're gonna still have outdoor entertainment and barbecue pit and the radio stations.
Yeah, because of the smoking ordinance, it's important that people can walk outside and have a cigarette. But at the same time, we don't have speakers out there. And the barbecue pits are something that we've done for a lot of drives, for charity drives that we do every Sunday. We had one for the fireman that was killed over there on 410.
Yes, sir.
We raised probably $170,000 for his family in one day. So I'd say we have at least 40 charity events on Sunday a year
That are outside.
that are outside, all outside.
The other question I had is, this is like you said, Bandera Cafe, the landmarks, so I know the area, that building that you're talking about. So there's one main entrance, the way I know it, one main entrance that takes you to either to the left towards that little strip that we're talking about, or to the right is the Kentucky Fried Chicken and the
Right.
the washed up. So is that gonna be the same entrance that?
That's the only
the customer-
entrance.
So that's just gonna, because I'm just putting it out there, but it is a busy entrance already. And then with your business, I'm sure that, what are the hours of operation?
Well, see, we're really busy Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. So, and really, people don't get there until about 10 o'clock at night. So 10 to 2, so 4 hours, 3 nights, about 12 hours a week is really when we're really busy.
But
the re-
technically,
the-
you open Monday through Friday?
Well, we open at 2 o'clock, but we probably have maybe 10 people throughout, from 2 o'clock to 7.
So your big hours are 10 PM to,
About 10:30 to 2 in the morning, 10:30 to 1:30, 3 nights a week.
that's all my questions, thank you.
Jason?
A couple questions. First, about the site plan you have here. So you've got a bold outline of an area, it looks like directly behind that Phase 1 building that contains Navy Federal Credit Union. That's where that proposed building, I'm assuming you're saying it's a 12,000 square foot building. You're gonna be 8,000 square feet of that building, and that's directly behind in this bolded section?
Yeah,
So-
that first Phase 1 is about 17.5, I believe, is
Yeah.
what I was told.
So that's this,
Right.
that area right there?
Yeah,
Okay.
so it won't be as long and wide as that one.
Okay. And you're saying that, so the parking, and I believe there's a parking lot located between your building and the first building?
Right.
Is that correct? And so that
That's-
will be,
No, that's their parking.
that's their parking. So your parking will be behind the building?
Our parking will be some of it in the front and then the rest of it in the back.
Okay. And so about how many spots do you think? I mean, there's no site plan really to see in terms of the
Well, yeah,
layout?
it really depends on the trees and once I get a tree survey, but I would say about 300 to 400 parking spaces.
Okay. And do you think, so this patio, is that 8,000 square feet inclusive of the patio, or is that
No,
strictly?
no, that's all inside.
That's all, and how big do you anticipate?
Most country bars in town are about an average of 15,000 square foot. We're
Okay.
about half of that. And actually, the Cowboys over there on 410 and 35 is about 70,000 square foot. So we're pretty small, I would believe, compared to most country bars.
How big do you anticipate the patio being?
Probably around the same size we have right now.
Yeah, which
It's
is-
about 30 by 20, something, 30, I think it's 32 by 65.
600 square feet, 700 square feet, something like that?
Whatever that comes out to. I think that's more than 32 by, no, it's more like 1,800.
1,800, excuse me, sorry. Not doing math very well in my head there. And where will that be located relative to the building? You think it's gonna be in the front, or?
No, we want to get it in front so we don't bother anybody.
So it's closer to the
Actually, the
main
way
area.
this one's set up now, the Cooter Browns,
Yep.
the back part of it that faces Stanton Run is just all closed up, so there's no sound at all that comes
So
out
the
of it.
building would buffer,
But, yeah, all the sound comes towards the street.
so it would have
We
to.
wanna try to
It
do
would have
the
to
same
travel
thing.
through, basically, the two walls of the building or over and
Right.
around the building to get back, okay. I think that's all the questions I have for the moment.
Others? Jeff, do you have?
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
One of my questions, is this the one and only location that you have investigated or started working with?
No, I've looked at a couple different locations.
In Helotes or San Antonio?
No, in San Antonio.
In San Antonio? Okay. My other is just a comment that I agree with Commissioner Rios that one ingress egress for that size of a business, I believe, could be a safety issue. That's mine.
Ron, then Mike.
Would you consider adding more greenery to the back to cut down on the parking lot noise to the neighborhood?
Yes.
That'd be appreciated, thank you.
I have one question. I have a question.
Joe, then Mike.
I have a question concerning lighting. What kind of lighting do you have planned for the back?
Just what's required by code, for the city.
Okay, you don't have any specific design.
Well, the design, we would face everything towards the street instead of out towards the residence, if there was any lighting back there.
Michael.
Thank you. At what point during the process does the fire department get involved regarding the entrance and the amount of traffic in that one entrance?
I don't know the answer to that. Do you know?
I believe
Selena, or
that the Bandera Cafe is actually closed at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
They're only open for lunch, breakfast and lunch, so.
But in terms of when you come forward with a site plan and a conceptual design at that stage, is there a public safety review at that point
It would be afterwards.
after the zoning piece?
Yeah.
Right.
So, just to be clear on the process, so right now we're being asked to give our opinion on just the concept of this, and then it will come back before us as a conceptual and design plan.
Yes, and then after that, it'll be the construction plan review and all of that, yeah. So right now, only for consideration is the zoning use request.
Right. Which by definition goes to council. This is a council.
Correct. Approved use
Overlay.
permit.
Item, right?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I have a question for the gentleman.
Yes, a couple more and then we'll get a motion.
If this is granted, are you going to close down the other Cooter Brown
Yes.
location? Because you're wanting to expand, that's why you're exploring this option?
Well, there's a few issues. Most of it's costly. It's very costly where we're at right now. Our rent has increased probably almost double since we opened. That's the majority of the reasons why we're leaving, so that and the fact that it's pretty small.
The occupancy at the current location is, how many people do you average?
I think 430 people.
So when you're peaking, that's about how many people are in that building on a weekend,
Yeah.
10 to 2? And then this location will be bigger.
Well, I think the same people are gonna be coming here. I don't think people are gonna come because it's bigger. It's gonna be, I think the restrooms, should have more room for the females. We have 5 now, but it's pretty cramped, needs more space in between. It probably needs, 7, 8 commodes in the ladies' restroom, so it's pretty cramped right now. What we did is we took over a restaurant. So when we took over the restaurant, we took over a kitchen that's about 1,500 square foot. So when you take over the kitchen, you can't tear it down. That's where we store our beer. So 1,500 of it, of the 5,000 square foot, is storage now. So it's pretty small for compared to most country bars.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Actually, 2 quick questions for staff, if they're able to answer these. One, when I was reviewing this, I didn't get a chance to follow up and check on, what are the noise ordinances that are, maybe applicable to the concerns that we've heard at the beginning of this?
So the city, within its municipal code of ordinances, does not have a noise ordinance. However, if there was a complaint on the noise level, the residents could contact the police department. The police department would respond, and it's my understanding that they go by whatever the state statute is on noise. I believe they measure the decibels, am I saying that correctly? So they'll measure that. I don't know what that requirement or that number is, but they would respond.
And then the second question would be, I know that there was some sidewalk concerns expressed. I know that there is new sidewalk in front of the rest of this development that faces Bandera, and I think they've extended that pretty far down, like in front of Golden Chick and so forth. But I believe it ends at what used to be the bank at the corner there of Hausman and Bandera, and I know that there is a master plan for an auto facility. I can't recall if that, I believe that the sidewalk improvements were required for that project. Is that, to the best of my recollection?
I cannot answer that. I don't know.
Okay.
I know what proposed development you're speaking of, the automotive place, but I can't answer whether there'll be a sidewalk there or not. I do not know that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. We can now have a motion. We can discuss a motion and go from there. So anybody care to make a motion? Thank you.
Mr. Chair, what we're doing tonight, of course, is a recommendation to City Council, correct?
That is correct. Everybody should know that whatever recommendation comes out will be heard by City Council at its next scheduled meeting, which is on
The
12th of
Next
September.
Thursday.
Thank you. Which is where the final decision will be rendered.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Go, please.
Based on what we discussed in the questions, I recommend a motion to deny the request by Kidder Entertainment Group of San Antonio for a specific City Council-approved use permit for tavern with outdoor area for patrons, no live recorded music allowed outside on property zoned overlay District B3 OD and located on a 5.474 acre lot described as Lot 7, Block 2 within the Bandera Oak subdivision, generally located behind 12510 Bandera Road, Helotes, Texas 78023, and the denial due to the fact of the safety concerns at the entrance and also,
Well, you can leave the rationale off. Let's just get the motion of what you're proposing.
that's it.
Okay, so is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Second motion. Okay, so discussion of the motion. Mario, you can go ahead and,
I'm concerned about that's one of the areas that I frequent, and I know that location very well, and I'm surprised, I wonder if staff knows how many accidents or anything has happened there with that entrance, because it's just multiple businesses, and I know that the hours might be different, but at the same time, there's gonna be some cross-connect, and that's just one more opportunity for a already very busy entrance and exit to that facility or to that property. That's one concern. The second concern, of course, is the close proximity to the subdivision. I know it's a B3, but at the same time, I have reservations about the noise factor, the type of activity that could be happening in close proximity to residents. These are just my thoughts, and this is why I recommended the motion tonight.
Jeff, any comment?
I agree. First off, I appreciate you exploring Helotes for your business. I feel it's just not the right location, way too close to residential area. And that one place, I know we did approve that when we replatted that one ingress egress for the back lots there, but I don't feel that that type of business with 300 to 400 parking spots is going to be big safety concerns there. Also, just leaving the establishment itself. I don't know how many people from Helotes actually go to that establishment or not, or if most of it's coming from San Antonio. If they're gonna be leaving that, going back into San Antonio, if you're exiting any of those businesses, and you wanna go back towards 1604, it's a nightmare. You gotta take a left on Leslie and cut through Walmart or Starbucks or the bank, and, traffic, I don't think it's overall just a bad place.
Any other comments on the motion? Michael?
Yeah, I think this, in many ways, this is the same but different. We had Bad Dogs here in Helotes. I think if there's any comparison, there's a lot more ingress and egress capabilities in that location. Is different venues, so it had, for whatever reason, maybe not the same traffic volume as something, what we're discussing may have. But I think, and it was even closer to the residences, and I didn't hear any complaints about that. So, not to say that the concerns we heard tonight are invalid, I think they are. But this isn't the first time we've considered this, but I think, in my mind, what is the kind of the tipping point, if you will, in my decision is the potential number of cars with a single exit may cause problems. Just, if everybody leaves at one time or that type of thing, around closing time, you can get more people coming out at one time. I think that's the biggest concern. I think, like you were saying, there's different time periods for different things. I think some of the concerns would be alleviated because, young kids and all that typically aren't out that late anyway. So I think that would be a mitigation. However, I think something that if the city council wants that to come in, something they're gonna have to consider is the traffic volume that place may generate. I think that's the biggest risk to everything. I don't think the noise is gonna be a problem, other than, any of the maybe outside event that, although there's not gonna be a band, that may be a concern. I don't think it's a serious one. It's more of an inconvenience, I think, especially if it's early in the evening. But I think the greatest safety issue is the channel, the traffic channel in and out of there. That is the highest potential. So I would think that'd be my recommendation. If y'all choose to consider that, Alex, would be one thing to focus on.
Thank you. Anyone else? Joe, Ron, Jason?
Yeah, I respectfully disagree a little bit with the traffic. I think for one reason is that this is not, to me, it's a very different traffic cycle. We've got this large development, we've got the car wash, we've got a breakfast, lunch restaurant, we've got a bank. None of these guys are circulating. These guys' peak hour is, probably 8 to 9 p.m. Everything else in that complex, peak hours is probably before 5. It's probably mid-afternoon.
I agree with you. I'm just saying that particular volume.
And
Yeah.
that, just trying to compare it to their current location and some similar locations we have here in Helotes, I think this is a brand-new street. I know it is only one exit, but it's to my mind, a very up-to-date, exit out onto Bandera Road. And certainly right this second, there's certain concerns about, because Hausman is torn up and we don't have that thoroughfare to get back, when people are not coming into Helotes or trying to go back to the city, it's a little trickier. But, when Hausman's done, you're gonna have 2.5 lanes of traffic, right around the corner to get back out to 1604 if that's the way you're headed. You don't have to try to make a U-turn and fight. I'd rather see it on that side of Hausman than on the other side of Hausman, closer to town. I think that kind of having it on that side, I think, the traffic capability is much more able to handle that kind of thing. And then in terms of the noise, again, I am concerned about that, but I think that there are ways to address that at design approval. We can talk about sign rating walls. I like the fact that they've tried to keep the entrance and the outdoor areas as far away from the residential areas as possible and are amenable to the idea of additional buffers. Some of the parking in the back concerns me a little bit, just the traffic near the neighborhood. But again, with a buffer, we can talk about, full cutoff lights or even trying to reduce that a little bit as we get into those details. But that's kind of where my head is at on these issues.
I would add, I'd first thank everybody who came out to talk to this, and a reminder that it will be before council next week. I think things to keep in mind, and this overlay district's been there for a number of years, more than a decade. This property will and should be developed, and the question is what type of development. Part of the purpose of the overlay is to have some control, given the proximity to the residences. And if you actually look at the statute regarding the overlay district, it stipulates that part of the rationale is to preserve, protect, and enhance the nearby residential areas. And I think that becomes the question ultimately for city council to grapple with. In many ways, this is, I would argue, exactly a type of business we would want. It's sustaining, it is bringing people into our community, it has a regular clientele, it's successful, and there's a lot of positives to it. And there are, of course, as people pointed out, concerns regarding traffic noise, hours of operation, and so forth. And so I think ultimately, council will need to consider carefully how this fits, or if this fits, with the ideal of what an overlay district should be. But I certainly think that there's a lot to recommend it as the type of business that it is, which is not a comment on it being a bar per se, but being a successful operation that would be an addition to the community in many ways. So ultimately, we'll hear what council has to say, but for right now, the vote before us is, the motion before us, is to recommend denial of the request by Kidder Entertainment Group for a specific city council approved use permit for a tavern with outdoor area for patrons. No live or recorded music allowed outside on property zoned overlay district B3 and located on 5.474 acre lot, described as Lot 7, Block 2, within the Bandera Oaks subdivision, generally located behind 12510 Bandera Road. That's the secretary, if you do this by roll call, please.
Mike?
Nay.
To clarify here, nay meaning nay to the motion?
Right.
Okay.
Joe?
Well, since there is no on-premise alcohol consumption, yes.
So to be clear, the motion is to deny, so a nay vote is opposing the motion and a yay vote is supporting the
You're
motion.
denying
Just
it?
to be clear, thank you.
Nay for me. Jason?
Nay.
Jeff?
Aye.
Mario?
Aye.
So in the role of chair, I do have the opportunity to vote in these situations where it is 3-3, is that correct? So I would vote nay on the motion. And I would, again, invite everybody that next week is when this goes before council. So the vote is 4-3 nay on, against the motion, And so there is, the recommendation fails. And I don't believe, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, if we need to have a motion, positive motion, I don't believe we do. So that's where this stands, is that the motion here failed to deny, so we'll go to city council. So if that's confusing, you can check with staff afterwards, but I do invite you next week to come where the final decision will be rendered. Okay. We're gonna move to item 8, which is discussion and action on a preliminary and final amending plat pursuant to Municipal Code of Ordinances, Chapter 78, Section 75, amending a plat, establishing Brycewood subdivision, Unit 2A, and amending lots 21 to 33, Block 10, CB 4450R, and Lot 38, Block 8, Lot 40, Block 13, CB 4450R, and Lot 907 out of Brycewood subdivision, Unit 2, recorded in Volume 9716, pages 39 to 40 of the official public records of Bexar County, and establishing lots 21A to 33A in Block 10, Lot 38A, Block 8, Lot 40A, Block 13, Lot 907A. That's a mouthful, all that. But you have the supporting material in your packets. I gather you're back before us, sir, to tell us about this. Susan or Selena, was there anything in addition to what we had to
No,
speak to this?
Nothing in
Okay.
addition.
So, sir, if you wanted to come address the group and tell us about it, put your name and business address on record, be appreciated.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner. My name is Salah Diab, the engineer on this project. This is a part
Tell us
of-
your business address, if you would.
I'm sorry, address is 6735 IH10 West, San
Thank you.
Antonio, Texas, 78201. This amended plat is amended to a portion of the recorded plat, which is Brycewood subdivision, Unit 2. And the reason for the amendment is, it was supposed to be a wall along Brycewood Park. And that wall was built in a little bit in a different location from what's supposed to have been. It's due to the slope on the ground, I believe. So in order not to leave a piece of land somewhere where nobody could get to it, the neighborhood association or whoever, to even clean it or take care of it. So it was decided to extend the lots to the wall, so it will cover that area.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yep.
Jason, please.
Two quick ones. So, first, are these lots already owned by homeowners? Or is it just?
Not yet, not yet. They're under contract, but they're still under the developer name.
Okay, so they're aware that there'll be an
Yes.
increase in their property size? And then, so is the wall gonna be on their property, or will it still be in the?
Will be along the line.
Okay, okay.
And what, I was trying to figure out, what is the distance that we're talking here?
It varies from 1 foot to probably 20 feet.
Other questions or comments? Thank you, sir. We can have a motion.
Mr. Commissioner, I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval on discussion of an action of a preliminary and final amending plat pursuant to Municipal Code of Ordinances, Chapter 78, Subdivision, Section 78-75, amending a plat establishing Brycewood subdivisions, Unit 2A, and amending lots 21 to 33, Block 10, CB 4450R, and Lot 38, Block 8, Lot 40, Block 13, CB 4450R, and Lot 905 at our Brycewood subdivision, Unit 2, recorded in volume 9716, pages 39 to 40.
I'll second.
Okay. Is there any discussion of the motion, Jason, Ron, or anyone else? Okay, so I will not read the whole thing back, but I think we're clear on what it is. The motion is to recommend approval of the preliminary and final amending plats pursuant to code for the property in question. All in favor, please signal aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And it too, Selena, will be next week at City Council, the 12th of September. All right. That brings us to the end of our agenda for this evening. Ron? Do we
Mr.
have a
Chairman,
motion?
may we make a motion to adjourn?
Is there a second?
Second.
Michael? All in favor of adjourning, signal aye. Opposed? We stand adjourned at 7:48.